Hey y'all, I'd like to go ahead and talk about a project I did not really recently. I finished working on this in probably February, and I've wanted to make a video about it for a while, but for some reason I never got around to it. Well, today's the day. This is called TownBuilder. It is a game that I based off of a board game called Tiny Towns by AEG Games. I kind of did it as an exercise that quickly spiraled out of control into a large-scale Java project. I used Java Swing to develop a GUI for the game, or GUI. I'm actually a bigger fan of GUI personally. I used the MIG layout libraries to go ahead and make this happen. But yeah, so as I go through, I'll kind of explain kind of how it works. And of course, the project's open source, so if you'd like to check it out, you check out the code. If you want to play it for yourself, I'll have a link to my GitHub repo as well. So to kind of get started, basically the way TownBuilder works is it's a little bit about like Settlers of Catan, where you've got a 4x4 grid. It's a simpler version of Catan. A 4x4 grid, and you'll place resources on it. And if you have the correct pattern of resources, you can create a building. These buildings will correspond to a certain level of points that may be met with different conditions. And the goal, in single player really, is to win as many points as possible. There's a multiplayer component, but I'll demonstrate both. But we're going to get started with the single player. So I'll go with default, and I'll explain what these do. So there are 7 classes of buildings, and there are 4 unique choices for each class. You can use custom to pick which one you'd want, or you can just do default to pick the 7 ones that the actual Tiny Towns board game recommends, and then of course there's random. We'll go start with default. We'll do 1 player. Go ahead and do link. Great. It's a pretty simple GUI interface, Great. Okay, so here's the layout of it. So you've got a couple things going on here. The first thing of note that you probably want to check out is the manual. So this is persistent in the sense that you can open it and close it, and it's always there. It always actually stores what's there. So we'll check out the rules. I'm not going to go through super detailed manual, but I will talk about monuments. So each player gets access to a unique building that only they can build, and they can only place it once, and it has pretty powerful effects, which I'll go into more detail about. There is also active buildings, which I'll explain more as we get there. So let's go ahead. We have brick. Let's go and check out buildings. You can go to buildings to view the different types of buildings you can make. So I'm going to go ahead and work on making a warehouse. So what the warehouse is, it's an active building. So a lot of the buildings, once you build it, they don't do anything. The active buildings, which are white, actually do something that you can use throughout the game. So the warehouse allows us to store resources. So we're told that we can place a brick. So I'm going to go ahead and place it down in this corner over here. You just click it, and it's a button. Great. And then now second turn, we'll go and go to warehouse. We'll go ahead, place it there. Could correspond with the warehouse. Great. Okay. And so now it's the third turn. And the third turn in single player, you're allowed to pick your resource that you would like. So we'll go with wood, stone. Okay, it does throw a little bit of a wrench in our process. A part of the game is going to be adapting to things you don't necessarily have control over. I think of chapel. Actually, I don't really like the sky baths very much. There's like a bunch of different choices you can have. I'm not a big fan of sky baths. For more details, they'll be also on the GitHub repo. Great. Okay. We'll go ahead and place it here. Chapel. Okay. So the cool thing about this is that the buildings themselves, even though they're in this orientation, it respects rotation and mirrored. So that's pretty nice. So we'll go and place it up in the corner. Okay, great. I don't really need wood either. We'll make a farm. So farm, and you want to feed cottages because it only grants 3 points when it's fed. Great. Okay, we'll get a wheat. Brick. Okay, we'll go ahead and keep on making our chapel. Okay, so great. It has detected a well. I don't want a well, so you can go ahead and reject it. So we'll hit no. Glass, that's fine. It's going to see the issue is it's going to prompt you every time because the algorithm detects it. Great. Okay, so make a factory. Or warehouse, warehouse, great. So when you make a building, it can go in any of the tiles where resources were. There are exceptions to this, which I won't necessarily discuss because it's limited to a specific monument. So we'll go ahead and place it down in the corner. Okay, So now we go to the active buildings panel, and when you mouse it over it, first off, if you have multiple buildings, you're able to mouse and it tells you which one it is. So I can place the glass, which I don't necessarily want to do. We'll go ahead and make a chapel. Okay, so I don't really... Actually, I do want a wood. And then we want a wheat. Okay, that was... Okay, great. I don't want a brick. So I can place it. And then that's my turn. So I want to make a cottage, so I want glass. Great. So now you have to... The only issue is you have to exit and go back in. But now we can see we have a brick stored in the inventory. So now what we could do is we could swap it for... We could swap our glass out for the spot for brick. So once the inventory always goes up. It's never going to actually go back down. So we'll go ahead and select the brick. Great. So now we have... Oh, that's a bug. Great. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I don't want another brick, so we're going to place that. And I want a wheat. Okay, great. A cottage. And then I would like glass, wood. I don't want another wood. I could always just start working on another theater. Great. We want a theater. We'll place it down here. So the theater grants 1 point for each unique building in its column and row. Okay. So we'll go ahead and make another one. Stone, wood. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now we've already got some point opportunities here, and we can actually press the scoreboard to get a kind of tentative score. So, okay, so we have a score of total of 3. And that's because we have 1 point from the chapel. We have 1 point from the chapel because the chapel grants 1 point for each fed cottage. And the cottage down here is fed because there's a farm. We also get, for some reason, we do not get any points in the cottage right now. That's interesting. Look into that later. The theater is granting 4 points right now because there's actually 1, 2, 3 because we have another theater, 4. And then the warehouse right now is granting -2. And why is that? That is because each resource you leave out is -1 point, and the warehouse reflects this fact. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and work on making taverns. Taverns are pretty good. We've got really lucky with resources, too. Okay. Tavern. And then that's also another bug. That's okay. I haven't worked on this project in a bit, and obviously there's still going to be some kinks to work out. I'm still pretty proud of it, though. And of course, if you ever do want to fix anything, it's an open source project, so feel free. Not going to hurt my feelings. Okay, we got another glass. I don't really want another brick. We'll just place that. Oh, great. Okay. Let's place it there. And then we will do... And then I can make a stone. And then we get a chapel. Great. And so now we can swap for wheat. Oh, see, here I've made a mistake. That wheat should have went here. And unfortunately, there are no takebacks. That's by game design. Also, we can close out of there. So, let's go ahead and see if we can fix this. And we can. We can just do that. Do I have a wheat? I do not. Well, okay. Put a wood there. We put a stone. We want a stone, and then I'll make a well. Perfect. Except now, unfortunately, I'm not getting a second point for having the cottage here. But this is actually a really strong theater. This only is like a 1 point loss in terms of the earning potential of that theater. So, not the worst. And is that interesting? Okay. That might be something I need to fix. Normally, that would mean that we've earned some resources for the cottage being fed. But I did change feed, I think, at the last second. And then that may have gotten a little messed up. But I can investigate that later. Oh. Well, I don't want a cottage. I want a tavern. I do, however. See, this is where it's getting a little murky. We'll take a wheat because I have brick and I want brick. We'll take brick out and make a cottage. Put that there, and then I don't really. Okay, and then I think we're heading towards game over at this point, so we'll go and swap for wood. And that's not a stone, so game over. Okay, so it looks like the points aren't necessarily working for cottage, but that's okay. Okay, so the game finishes once it's finished, so you could just run it again, I'll just recompile the program. Okay, so custom, I'll just go and give a quick overview of that. You can select the different buildings, so it shows you a manual page. We'll do kind of some random picks. You can kind of see how it works. In bakery, bank. We'll have one player this time. Okay, and then obviously the manual update. The only thing that doesn't update necessarily is the cottage. And then it looks like we got the same monument again. But yeah, so that's TownBuilder. I'm not going to do too much more of a demo. If you want to check out the whole thing, you can always try it for yourself. Otherwise, if you have any questions, go ahead and comment. Happy to answer. And yeah, thanks for watching.